Sairam children. So today we are back again with our new voices. Yes, last class children, we completed one part of the story. We also learned the new words that come in the lesson. We learned frame sentences, some past tense and opposites, right? So today we are going to continue with the second part. Last class, we saw that in a small village in China, there was a little girl who was from the weaver's family. And the emperor of China one day sees her and wishes to marry her. After marrying the girl, he takes the girl to his palace. There, the girl is very sad. Why is she sad over there? Yes, because she has no one to talk to over there and she has no work to do either. She's the queen of that palace, right? So she was not allowed to do any work there. They had lots of servants in the palace to do the work. And there was nobody to talk to her. Whereas in the village, she had her friends, her relatives, with whom she could talk for hours at him, right? So she was very bored over there and she was very sad. The emperor tried to make her happy by buying grand dresses, jewelries, and arranging parties for her, but none of this makes her happy. One day, while sitting under a mulberry tree and sipping hot water, she sees that something has fallen into the hot water and she sees fine threads coming out of it. Now, what is it? What is it that had fallen into the hot water? And what did she do with it? Is what we are going to see in part 2 of the chapter 7, China Silk. So, are you all ready, children? Shall we start? Okay. So, chapter 7, China Silk, part 2. Where had they come from? She pulled the threads. They were thin, strong, and shiny. She kept pulling, and a long line of thread came out. Now the Empress had a great idea. She would take the thread from many cocoons and weave soft and strong cloth from it. So, seeing that threads coming out, she started thinking, where had they come from? And she pulled the threads. They were thin, but they were strong and shiny. She kept pulling, and a long line of thread came out. Now the Empress had an idea. She was from a weaver's family, right? So, seeing the thread, she gets an idea that she would take many cocoons and weave soft and strong cloth from it. So, what does she do now? She called her servants and everyone got to work. They took cocoons out of the mulberry tree, dropped them in hot water, and removed the thread. They gathered a fair amount of yarn. Then the queen ordered a special weaving machine and wove the first piece of cloth using this new thread. Thus, silk was woven. What she does, all the servants and tells them to take the cocoons out of the mulberry tree and drop them in hot water. So the servants get to work. They took cocoons out of the mulberry tree, dropped them in hot water, and removed the thread. They gathered a fair amount of yarn. Then the queen ordered a special weaving machine. Okay, she could not use a normal weaving machine. She needed a special one to weave silk out of this thread. So she orders for a special weaving machine and then she wove the first piece of cloth using this new thread. Thus, silk was woven. The manufacture of silk spread throughout China. It was a cloth that only royalty could wear and was much in demand. In lands as far as Rome, the route through which silk was traded between China and Europe through Asia was called the Silk Route. This manufacture of silk slowly spread throughout, but it was the cloth only royalty could wear. Royalty means kings and queens. Only the kings and queens could wear silk. Not everybody could wear it. There was much demand for this in faraway lands such as Rome. The route through which the silk was traded. Traded means buying and selling, I told earlier, right? So they sold silk in exchange of other goods to Europe through Asia, and this route through which silk was traded was called the Silk Route. Okay, so the route through which silk was traded between China and Europe through Asia is known as the Silk Route. Okay. Now that the Chinese had learnt how to make silk cloth, they did not want to share this knowledge with anyone in the world. Generations of Chinese royalty were sworn never to reveal the secret to anyone. When princes got married and went away to far off lands, they were not allowed to tell anyone in their new home how silk was made. Now, the Chinese, that they knew how to make silk cloth, they were not ready to share this knowledge with anyone in the world. They wanted to keep it a secret. Generations of Chinese means the children of the king and the queen, their children and their children and their children, many generations that kept, all were sworn never to reveal the secret. Sworn means all were made to promise that they would not tell the secret to anyone. When princesses got married and went away to far off lands, they were not allowed to tell anyone in their new home how silk was made. Many years later, when a clever princess was leaving her house after her wedding, as per the custom, her bags were searched carefully to check that she did not carry anything that would help her make silk. This princess had been weaving silk from a young age and wanted to continue to do so wherever she went. Many years later, there was a princess who was very clever. When she was getting married and when she was leaving the house, there was a custom of checking the bags carefully to see that they were not carrying anything that would help them make silk. So, all the bags of the princess were checked. But the princess, she was weaving since she was a child, very young age. So, she wanted to continue to do this wherever she went. So, what did she do? Let's see that. She had hidden the cocoons in her long, elaborate hairdo. No one thought of looking there. When she went to her husband's house, she took out these cocoons from her hair and started gathering silk thread. In this way, as the legend goes, the knowledge of how to make silk left China. As I said, she wanted to weave silk wherever she went, but she was not allowed to carry anything. Her bags were checked, so where did she hide the cocoons? In her elaborate hairdo. Hairdo means hairstyle, the way her hair was styled. Elaborate means detailed. So she had a very elaborate, detailed hairstyle done and she hid the cocoons in her hair. And no one thought of looking there, no one thought of searching over there. So when she went to her husband's house, she took out these cocoons from her hair and started gathering silk thread. In this way, the legend goes, that means in this way, the story that in this way the knowledge of silk left China. That means it spread to other countries as well. Okay, understood, children? So how the making of silk left China, Other countries also came to know the secret of how silk is made, and even they started making silk. Okay, wasn't it interesting? Now, children, I want you all to read this lesson thoroughly 3 to 4 times. Practice reading, okay, and practice the new words that we had learned. I hope you all have written it 3 times. Yes, learn them also. Now, I have some questions for you. Let us see how much you all are able to recollect from what we have learned till now. Okay. The first question here is state true or false. Okay, I have some sentences over here. You have to think and tell me whether they are true or false. There is no need for you to write this in your notebook. These sentences are there in your textbook. You can just make a note of true or false and then note it down in your textbook. Okay. So the first one is the Empress was very happy in the palace. Empress means the queen. The Empress was very happy in the palace. Was she happy in the palace? Yes or no? No, she was very sad. So this sentence is false. Right? The second one, the Empress missed her village very much. The Empress missed her village very much. Did she miss her village? Yes, right? She missed her village very much. So this is true. Yes, understood. Shall we move to the next one? The silk thread from the cocoons came out after being put in hot water. The silk thread from the cocoons came out after being put in hot water. Is it true? Yes, after putting the cocoons in hot water only, the silk thread started coming out, right? So this is true. Everyone could wear clothes made from silk. Everyone were allowed to wear clothes made from silk. Is it right? No, only the royalty could wear, only the king and queen could wear, not everyone, right? So this is false. The clever princess took the cocoons hidden in her hairdo. The clever princess took the cocoons hidden in her hairdo, in her hairstyle. Is it true? Yes, this is true. Okay, understood? Shall we move to the next question? Answer these questions with reference to context. Yes, there is a sentence from the lesson given. The sentence is, now the Empress had a great idea. Now the Empress had a great idea. This is the sentence from the lesson. Now I'm going to ask you questions based on this sentence and then you have to give me an answer for that. Okay? The first question is, what was the great idea? What was the great idea? Yes? What idea did the Empress get? She got an idea. The idea was to weave soft and strong cloth using the threads from the cocoons. Right? She got the idea of making cloth from the soft threads that she gets from the cocoon. Isn't it? So, the idea was to weave soft and strong cloth using the threads from the cocoons. The idea was to weave soft and strong cloth using the threads from the cocoons. Let's go to the next question. What happened next? What happened after that? She called her servants who gathered a fair amount of yarn for her. Then she ordered a special weaving machine and wove the first piece of silk using this new thread. After she gets an idea that she can make a cloth, what does she do? She called her servants, who gathered a fair amount of yarn for her. Then she ordered a special weaving machine and wove the first piece of silk using this new thread. So, what happened next? She called her servants, who gathered a fair amount of yarn for her. Then she ordered a special weaving machine and wove the first piece of silk using this new thread. Was the Empress happy now? Was the Empress happy now after she could weave a new cloth with the piece of silk? Was she happy now? Yes. The Empress was happy now. Yes, the Empress was happy now because she got to do what she loved doing, right? She loved weaving cloth and she could do that now, so she was very happy now. Right? Let's go to the next question. Answer the following questions. Whom did the emperor see in the village and what did he decide? Whom did the emperor see in the village? What did he decide? Let's see the answer. The emperor saw a poor girl from a weaver's family working in the field. He immediately fell in love with her and decided to marry her. Whom did the emperor see in the village? The emperor saw a poor girl from a weaver's family working in the field. He immediately fell in love with her and decided to marry her. Understood? Shall we move to the next question? Okay. The next question is, why was the empress unhappy about staying in the palace? Why was the empress unhappy about staying in the palace? Why was she unhappy? Yes, the empress was unhappy about in the palace as she felt like being confined in a space. She was used to doing her own work, but now it was being taken care of by her servants. She did not know how to fill her time. She did not have anybody to talk to. Yes, why was she unhappy? Because here she was trapped. She felt confined. That means she felt trapped in a space. And she was doing her own work. She was used to doing her own work. But now she had lots of servants to do work for her. So she was not allowed to do any work. And she was getting bored. She did not know what to do with the time she had. And she did not have anybody to talk to also. Right? So the answer is the empress was unhappy about staying in the palace as she felt like being confined in a space. She was used to doing her own work, but now it was being taken care of by her servants. She did not know how to fill her time. She did not have anybody to talk to. Yes, children, understood? Why was the empress unhappy about staying in the palace? The empress was unhappy about staying in the palace as she felt like being confined in a space. She was used to doing her own work, but now it was being taken care of by servants. She did not know how to fill her time. She did not have anybody to talk to. Okay, shall we move to the next? The next question is, what could the emperor have done to make the empress happy? The empress was unhappy in the palace, right? So, what could the emperor have done to make the empress happy? What did he do? The emperor tried his best to make the empress happy. He bought her grand clothes, jewels, and artifacts. He threw elaborate parties and hired the best musicians of the land to amuse her. He did everything possible. He bought grand clothes for her, jewels for her, artifacts. He threw elaborate parties and hired the best musicians of the land to amuse her. So the emperor tried his best to make the empress happy. He bought her grand clothes, jewels, artifacts. He threw elaborate parties and hired the best musicians of the land to amuse her. Yes, children, understood? Yes? Shall we move to the next one? Question 4. What happened one day when the Empress was sitting under the mulberry tree? What happened one day when the Empress was sitting under the mulberry tree? What happened? Do you all remember? Yes. One day, when the Empress was sitting under a mulberry bush, a cocoon from the mulberry bush had dropped into a cup of hot water. What happened? One day, when the Empress was sitting under a mulberry bush, a cocoon from the mulberry bush had dropped into her cup of hot water. Yes, children. What happened one day when the Empress was sitting under the mulberry tree? One day, when the Empress was sitting under a mulberry bush, a cocoon from the mulberry bush had dropped into a cup of hot water. Clear? Shall we move to the next one? Yes. Why was the trade route between China and Europe called the Silk Route? Why was the trade route between China and Europe called the Silk Route? So, the trade route between China and Europe was called the Silk Route as silk was traded through this route. Yes, why was it called the Silk Route? Because silk was traded through this route. Silk was sent to other countries through this route. So the trade route between China and Europe was called the Silk Route as silk was traded through this route. The trade route between China and Europe was called the Silk Route as silk was traded through this route. Yes, children, everything is clear, right? Understood? I want you all to read the lesson thoroughly, yes, and learn the new words. Practice reading the lesson many times, okay? And now I have a exercise for you, okay? I have some names of insects here. Can you see the box? There's ant, bee, beetle, butterfly, cricket, dragonfly, grasshopper, ladybug. These are the names of some of the insects. Now you have to find the names of these insects in the word grid. Okay, this is the word grid. Okay, the letters all jumbled up. You have to find the names of the insects in these and you have to circle them. Okay, you don't have to draw this grid. This is there in your textbook. You just have to see the names of the insects, find them out here, and you can circle it in the box. Okay, like for example, we take the ladybug. Okay, we take the insect ladybug. Now can you see where is ladybug over here? Okay, so here is ladybug. Right? In the same way, you all are going to find out the names of other insects and you're going to circle it. This grid is there in your textbook. You don't have to draw or make this. Just open your textbook, find out the names of the insects there and circle them. Okay, children? Yes? So we shall stop over here. Yes? Then let's meet in our next class. Okay? Bye. Sai Ram.